The galaxy was old. Stars were born, lived for millions of years, and then died in silence. Across that endless ocean of light, many civilizations had risen and fallen. Some had built empires so vast that their maps stretched across entire spiral arms. Others had vanished quietly, leaving only ruins on forgotten worlds. Among them, one truth always remained. Power belonged to those with the largest fleets. Warships were the language of strength. Whoever could bring more steel, more fire, and more soldiers to the battlefield was the one others listened to. And in that language, humanity was still considered a child. The humans of Earth were new to the stars. Barely 3 centuries had passed since they left their home system. To the elder races, 300 years was nothing. Many of their dynasties lasted longer than that without even recording them in their histories. Humans were supposed to be small, weak, and still learning how to breathe among the stars. And yet, there were whispers. It began in broken voices, carried by frightened survivors who should not have survived. Captains of merchant ships spoke, of shadows on their scanners. Krill raiders claimed their fleets had been attacked not by one enemy, but by hundreds of ships appearing and disappearing like smoke. Refugees described human warships that came without warning, destroyed invaders with frightening precision, and then vanished without leaving even wreckage behind. The rumors spread, like fire in dry grass. Some said Earth had discovered ancient technology older than the Council itself. Others believed humanity had made a pact with ghosts, binding their spirits into metal and flame. Some went further still, whispering that humanity had learned to bend reality itself, slipping between moments of time where no other race could follow. To many, it was nonsense. The galaxy was vast, and stories always grew stranger the further they traveled. No ship can vanish, the Eldari said. Sensors may fail, eyes may lie, but the void does not change. The proud Varric laughed openly at the thought. Humans? Phantoms? They can barely build colonies without begging for aid. You expect us to believe they wield a fleet of shadows? And the Council, the great body of united empires, scoffed as well. In their halls of silver and crystal, they dismissed the rumors as the fantasies of frightened traders. Earth is nothing, the delegates said. Their fleets are few, their colonies small. If they had such power, we would know. But there were those who had seen. There was the story of the Lothari convoy, attacked by pirates near the rim. The convoy was outnumbered 5-1, doomed from the start. Then out of the dark came ships with no markings, sleek, sharp, and silent. The pirates' weapons found nothing but empty space. The convoy captain swore she saw the human ships flicker in and out of existence, here one moment, gone the next, before reappearing behind the enemy lines. In less than 15 minutes, the pirates were reduced to wreckage. When the Lothari tried to hail the mysterious saviors, the ships gave no reply. And then, they were gone. Another tale came from a Kaloran warlord, bloodied and broken. His fleet had raided a border colony believed to be weakly defended. But when the fighting began, 100 human warships emerged from nowhere. His scouts reported seeing the same ships in multiple locations at once, impossible and terrifying. His fleet was destroyed, and he alone was allowed to escape. When he told his story, his people mocked him. They thought he had lost his courage. But the warlord never raised his voice again, and his eyes never stopped searching the stars for shapes in the dark. For every race that laughed, another listened in silence, unsettled. For every council member who dismissed the stories, a soldier at the border prayed never to meet these ghosts. The fear was not in the battles themselves, but in the mystery. Every empire knew how to measure strength. They could count ships, track fuel lines, compare weapons. But how did one measure a fleet that could not be seen? How did one prepare for an enemy that never left wreckage, never revealed where they came from, and never gave answers? The galaxy did not like what it could not explain. And humanity, young, restless humanity, had become the greatest mystery of all. In quiet bars at the edge of the stars, old traders leaned close and whispered to each other. "Do not cross Earth," they said. For their fleet is not flesh and metal. Their fleet is shadow, their fleet is smoke. The younger ones laughed nervously, but they laughed all the same. Yet when they returned to their ships, they could not help but glance at their scanners a little more often, searching for shadows where none should be. And always, when the whispers ended, there was silence. Because no one knew the truth. No one knew how much was myth and how much was real. But in the deep void far beyond the borders of council space, the Phantom Fleet was watching and waiting. The galaxy had seen many conquerors, but none as feared as the Krill Dominion. They were a race of insectoid warlords born in endless hives that consumed entire planets. The Krill did not build, they devoured. Their fleets were black swarms of jagged ships bristling with weapons. Where they passed, no life remained. Worlds became husks, stripped to feed their endless expansion. To them, war was not cruelty, it was hunger. For centuries, they had crushed smaller civilizations, leaving only ashes behind. The Krill did not negotiate. They did not sign treaties. They sent one message to every new species they encountered: submit or be consumed. And now, their eyes had turned to Earth. The news spread across council space like a storm. To most of the elder races, the result was obvious. Humanity had only a handful of colonies, spread thin across the stars. Their fleets were small compared to the massive navies of the Krill. The humans might fight bravely, yes, but bravery did not stop swarms. Delegates in the council chambers shook their heads and sighed. "It is better for Earth to surrender," one said. "They are too young. They do not understand the cost of defiance." "Perhaps the Krill will allow them to live as servants," another murmured. "It is better than extinction." The humans heard these words, and they did not forget them. When Earth's ambassador stood in the center of the council chamber, her voice did not tremble. "We will not surrender. Not today, not ever. If the Krill come for us, then let the galaxy watch what happens next." The chamber erupted in laughter. Delegates mocked the human arrogance. They believed themselves warriors, hissed the Veyric. But their fleets are pitiful toys. But not everyone laughed. In the farthest corners of the chamber, a few silent voices remembered the rumors. The whispers of phantom ships, the shadows on scanners. Could it be true? Could the humans truly hold against the Krill? They said nothing, but in their hearts they wondered. The Krill did not wait long. Their armada descended upon the edge of human space with terrifying speed. Thousands of ships, dark as obsidian, blotted out the stars. Entire sectors screamed, warnings as colonies prepared for the inevitable slaughter. Families fled into the void, desperate to escape. Mothers wept as they packed children into cramped shuttles. Fathers stood in silence, hands trembling as they tried to be strong. Across Earth's colonies, fear spread like wildfire. And yet, beneath the fear there was steel. Human leaders sent one command across every channel, to every ship and every soldier: stand ready. Do not break. For humanity had prepared. The Krill expected weakness. They expected humans to scatter like prey. Instead, they found defenses stronger than anticipated. Colonies bristled with orbital cannons, stations lit up with minefields and hidden torpedoes. Civilian ships had been armed, retrofitted for war, but most of all, there was the fleet. It appeared like a storm on the horizon. Hundreds of warships, their hulls painted black, their weapons humming with quiet fury. They bore no emblems of the United Council. They carried no banners of alliance. These ships belonged to Earth alone. The Phantom Fleet had arrived. They did not speak. They did not broadcast threats or demands. They simply moved into position, their engines glowing faintly against the void. To the terrified civilians watching, they looked like guardians rising from the darkness itself. For the first time, the galaxy held its breath. The Krill laughed. Their commanders sneered at the sight of a few hundred ships daring to stand against their thousands. Break them, the order came. Show these mammals what it means to defy the Dominion. The swarms advanced. Across human colonies, men and women watched from the surface as the sky filled with fire. Children pressed their faces to glass domes, clutching toys in their hands, as streaks of plasma lit the heavens. Old veterans clenched, their jaws whispering prayers they had not spoken in decades. In the void, the battle began. The Krill surged forward like a tidal wave, their weapons blazing. They expected the human fleet to scatter, to falter, to crumble under the weight of their numbers. But the Phantom fleet did not break. They moved with terrifying precision, weaving between enemy lines, striking in silence. Entire squadrons of Krill ships were ripped. Meanwhile, humanity remained silent. Their fleets did not boast. Their leaders did not explain. The Phantom fleet came and went without answers, leaving only more questions behind. This silence was the sharpest blade of all. The less humanity revealed, the more the galaxy imagined. And in their imagination, the humans became monsters. Some saw them as saviors, others as demons. Both views spread fear. In private, the council leaders argued bitterly. Should they confront Earth? Should they demand the truth, or should they watch and wait? No answer seemed safe. One elder, the Kaloran chancellor, spoke what many feared to admit. If the humans can truly do this, then every balance we have built will collapse. Our fleets, our power, our empires, it will mean nothing. They will decide the future, not us. His words hung in the air like a shadow. The chamber fell silent. Even the proudest among them could not dismiss that thought entirely. For in the end, it was not just about the Krill, it was about what came next. If humans could defeat the Krill, what would stop them from turning their gaze on others? The council told itself that humans were allies, that they were still small, still limited. But none of them truly believed it anymore. In the great halls of crystal, surrounded by the weight of history, the council doubted for the first time in ages. Their power no longer felt certain, their rule no longer felt eternal, and far beyond their reach in the silent void, the Phantom fleet continued to move, watching, waiting, vanishing when least expected. The council scoffed in public, but in private, they trembled, because the truth was simple and terrible. Humanity had changed the game, and no one knew what the rules were anymore. Word count, 905. The Krill Dominion was proud, arrogant, and relentless. They had survived countless battles, destroyed dozens of civilizations, and carved fear into every star system. When their scouts reported the Phantom fleet, the Krill did not tremble. They planned. Their armada gathered in the Shadow Nebula, a vast cluster of dark gas and jagged asteroids. It was a perfect place for a trap. Mines floated among the rocks, and sensor disruptors hummed silently, creating zones where no scanner could see clearly. Gravity wells twisted the void, making movement uncertain. Every element had been designed to stop the humans' mysterious fleet from disappearing or reappearing at will. The Krill commander, a massive insectoid with chitin that gleamed like black steel, addressed his war council. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. We have learned their tricks. They vanish, they strike, they terrorize. But here, in this sector, we will end them, trap them, destroy them. And finally, the galaxy will see the truth. Humans are prey, not predators. For the Krill, there was no room for error. They had studied the reports, analyzed the survivors' testimonies, and learned what they could. They knew that if they failed here, it would mark the beginning of a new order in the galaxy. And see, order ruled by Earth. Meanwhile, humans prepared in silence. Across their secret colonies, their warships waited. Orders were sent in low tones, drills were repeated, and ships were placed in positions known only to their commanders. The Phantom fleet was not just a fleet of ships. It was a network of mines, coordinated with perfect precision. Every vessel had its role, every pilot understood the plan, and every strike was calculated. The Krill did not know what they were about to face. When the humans arrived in the Shadow Nebula, the Armada was waiting. It stretched farther than the eye could see, black ships blinking like stars against the dark clouds. Mines hung in the void like invisible grenades. Gravity fields tugged unpredictably, and sensor jamming nodes created uncertainty in every instrument. The Krill commander smiled, certain of victory. The Phantom fleet entered the trap. At first, they advanced in what appeared to be perfect formation. From the surface of nearby worlds, sensors detected every movement. The humans were caught. They could not vanish as before. They could not escape the mines or the twisted gravity. They could not slip through the sensor fields. The Krill launched their attack. Waves of plasma tore across the void. Mines exploded in deadly sequences. Gravity wells yanked human ships into impossible orbits. The swarm closed in, confident, proud and cruel. And then it began. The humans did not panic. Their ships did not scatter. Instead, they moved as one, calm, precise, unyielding. Where the Krill expected confusion, they found calculation. Where the Krill expected chaos, they found coordination. The first strike came from the shadows. Ships that had seemed trapped blinked out of sensors entirely, leaving no trace. Then they appeared behind the Krill fleet, slicing through carriers, tearing apart destroyers, and igniting fear. The Krill fired blindly, their sensors screaming errors. Every attempt to trap the humans failed. Every wave of attack became their undoing. Panic spread among the Krill. Their commanders shouted orders, but their ships did not respond. The mines that should have destroyed the humans exploded harmlessly in empty space. Gravity wells twisted, the Krill's own vessels crushing some against the asteroids they had hidden behind. The very trap they had designed became a death sentence. From above, human pilots watched the chaos unfold. Their eyes were calm, their hands steady. They had planned for this. They had anticipated the trap, and they had designed every move to turn it against their enemy. The Phantom fleet was no longer just a fleet. It was a storm, invisible, unstoppable, and terrifying. Within minutes, the tide of battle had reversed. The Krill flagship, once a mountain of terror, burned in orbit. Dreadnoughts collided in confusion as smaller human vessels struck like lightning. Swarms of fighters were destroyed before they even reached human lines. The Krill commander roared in frustration, unable to comprehend how his trap had failed so completely. The survivors of the ambush would later tell stories of the Phantom fleet's movements that day. Ships vanished into nothing, only to appear in the most impossible positions. Mines detonated far from their intended targets. Gravity wells tore apart Krill vessels but left the human ships untouched. The fleet had become more than steel and fire. It was intelligence, strategy, and instinct working as one. And when the battle ended, the Krill were gone. Their armada, once massive, was shattered. Only a few crippled vessels escaped, carrying the news of Earth's true power. Across the galaxy, reports arrived like a storm. Observers could hardly believe what they saw. The humans had walked into a perfect trap and turned it into a slaughter. Entire fleets that had intended to crush them lay in ruin. The Phantom fleet had done the impossible once more. In the council chambers, silence followed the news. For weeks, no one spoke. The humans had proven what the council had feared to admit. Their power was unmatched, and somewhere, far in the void, the Phantom fleet vanished once again. Not a ship remained in sight. Not a sensor trace, not a single piece of evidence. The Krill could not understand how they had been destroyed. The galaxy could not understand what it had witnessed. All that remained was fear, for humanity had not only survived the trap, they had turned it into a weapon, and the message was clear. Cross them, and no ambush would ever be enough. The Krill Dominion had never felt fear like this. For centuries, their armadas had dominated the void, their fleets spreading terror wherever they went. They had conquered worlds, crushed empires, and laughed as civilizations fell before them. But the Phantom fleet had changed everything. They had survived impossible battles, struck down swarms of Krill ships, and vanished without leaving a trace. And now, the Krill had devised their greatest trap, a Yao sector filled with mines, gravity distortions, and sensor jammers. They believed that this time, nothing could escape. The human ships moved into the trap with calm precision. To the outside observer, It appeared as if they had walked blindly into death. Sensors marked their positions, mines threatened them at every turn, and gravity wells tugged at their hulls. The Krill commander smiled, confident that victory was inevitable. Then it began. The Phantom fleet shimmered. At first it was subtle, almost imperceptible. Hulls flickered like heat waves, edges of ships bending and fading into the darkness. The Krill fired, but their weapons passed through empty space. Missiles detonated harmlessly behind the human fleet. Every mine that had been designed to crush the humans triggered too late or in the wrong location. And then, the humans vanished completely. For the first time, the Krill felt true panic. Their fleet searched for them endlessly, scanning every corner of the sector. Sensors screamed errors. Fleets moved in confusion, trying to anticipate where the humans might appear next. But there was nothing. No ships. No signatures. Nothing. And yet, the humans were not gone. From nowhere, they reappeared behind the Krill lines. Every carrier, every destroyer, every fighter struck as if the Krill had already fallen. Entire formations were destroyed in minutes. It was a slaughter unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that had believed themselves safe were torn apart, blown into fragments by precision strikes. Krill dreadnoughts burned silently in orbit, their commanders screaming in disbelief as their mighty weapons failed to retaliate effectively. The battle raged for hours, yet it was over before it should have begun. The Phantom fleet moved with an intelligence that the Krill could not comprehend. They struck, vanished, and struck again in locations that no sensor could predict. The fleet seemed to exist both everywhere and nowhere, a storm of shadows and fire that the Krill could not escape. Even the most experienced Krill captains admitted privately that their enemy did not fight. Like any known species, they were ghosts. On the surface of nearby human colonies, the people watched the skies in awe and fear. Flames lit the void as the Krill ships were destroyed. Families hugged each other, tears streaking their faces, knowing the death had been so close yet spared them. Soldiers trained for decades in fleet tactics stared at the skies in disbelief, witnessing movements that defied every law of physics they had learned. The Krill commander tried everything. They called for retreat, ordered flanking maneuvers, fired in desperation, and even attempted to ram the human vessels with suicide ships. Nothing worked. Every plan failed. Every attack was countered. Every step they took led them deeper into chaos. The trap that had been designed to kill the Phantom fleet had instead become their tomb, and then it was over. The Phantom fleet did not linger to celebrate. They had struck, annihilated the enemy, and vanished once more. No debris, no signatures, no trace of their presence remained. Only the silence of space answered the stunned survivors of the Krill armada. The galaxy watched in disbelief. How could a fleet vanish and reappear at will? How could an enemy survive impossible traps and crush a dominant armada? Scientists, strategists, and generals debated endlessly, but no one could find answers. Every explanation failed. Every theory collapsed in the face of reality. And in the council chambers, fear had replaced scorn. Delegates whispered to one another, doubting their own power. The humans had proven they were not just strong, they were unstoppable. A fleet that could vanish, strike, and reappear at will was not just a weapon, it was an idea, a force that the galaxy could neither measure nor contain. Some wondered if the humans had discovered technology lost to time. Others believed the fleet was alive, bound by some unknown intelligence. Most feared the simple truth. The humans had mastered strategy, discipline, and cunning far beyond what any elder race had achieved. Meanwhile, the survivors of the Krill spread the tales across the galaxy. They spoke of ships that disappeared into thin air, reappearing in the most impossible positions. They spoke of commanders screaming in confusion, fleets torn apart before they could react. They told stories of a power that seemed supernatural, a force of strategy and precision that could not be measured by numbers alone. And humanity said nothing. The Phantom fleet returned to the void, leaving only the faintest traces behind. No one knew where they went, how many ships they had lost or gained, or what their next move would be. They had become legends before the galaxy had even begun to understand them. One thing was certain: the Krill would never forget. The galaxy would never forget. And any who dared challenge humanity would soon learn the same terrifying lesson. The Phantom Fleet did not just fight, they vanished. And when they vanished, nothing survived their strike. The galaxy was silent after the last battle. Worlds that had once scoffed at humanity now whispered their names in fear. Traders, soldiers, and diplomats alike shared the same words. The Phantom Fleet cannot be caught. But on Earth and its hidden colonies, there was no celebration. Victory had come at a cost. Ships were lost. Pilots were gone forever. Families mourned while the galaxy marveled. Humanity had survived, yes, but the Phantom Fleet's true power lay not just in firepower or stealth. It lay in discipline, sacrifice, and strategy that no other race could match. Even as whispers of fear and awe spread across council space, human commanders met quietly. They did not boast. They did not flaunt their victories. Each ship, each squadron had been a piece of a larger plan, and now it was time to prepare for the next move. The Krill were shattered, but other predators of the galaxy would soon take notice. For humanity had built more than ships, they had built networks, hidden shipyards, secret relays, colonies equipped for rapid deployment. To the galaxy, the Phantom Fleet seemed like ghosts, appearing in one place and disappearing to another. But in reality, the fleet was many fleets, scattered, yet coordinated, across systems that no one else even knew existed. The Council could not understand it. They could not imagine it. The Veyric delegate, who had mocked humans months earlier, sat in disbelief, reviewing reports of fleets appearing in multiple sectors at once. "It is impossible," he muttered, clawed hands gripping the table. "How can one race fight in two places at once?" The truth was simpler than any theory, yet more terrifying. Humanity had mastered coordination, intelligence, and preparation to a level that no other race could match. Their ships moved like shadows because every pilot, every crew, and every command center was connected in purpose. While one group fought, another prepared elsewhere. While one fleet vanished, another advanced. The galaxy saw magic, but it was strategy. It was patience. It was genius. Even the Krill survivors spread rumors of the humans' supernatural abilities, and the Council struggled to maintain calm. Reports poured in from distant star systems. Entire fleets thought lost reappeared unexpectedly. Trade routes, once considered safe, now carried whispers of invisible guardians. The young human race had transformed into a phantom legend, and fear spread faster than light. On the colonies themselves, life returned slowly. People rebuilt homes and ships, repairing what was damaged, burying what was lost. Children grew up staring at the stars, wondering if they too would one day serve in the Phantom Fleet. Soldiers and commanders reflected quietly on the cost of survival. Every vanishing act, every unexpected strike, came with lives sacrificed. The myth of the fleet was born from blood, precision, and devotion. In the deepest command centers, leaders of Earth spoke of the future. They did not boast, for the galaxy was watching. They did not reveal their secrets, for secrets were their strength. They only planned quietly, calmly, as they always had, because the truth of the Phantom Fleet was not just its ships, it was its philosophy. Every action deliberate, every sacrifice counted, every appearance and disappearance calculated. To the galaxy it seemed like magic. To humanity, it was merely strategy perfected over centuries. Council members could only speculate. Some believed humans had found ancient relics, technology older than their understanding. Others thought the fleet was alive, guided by some unknown intelligence. But the humans allowed the myths to grow. Fear was more powerful than steel, more effective than diplomacy, and more useful than diplomacy ever could be. The Krill had learned this lesson in blood. Other species would soon learn it in whispers. Humanity had not just survived, they had set a precedent. Across the galaxy, stars gleamed silently, but in their light, everyone knew the truth. Something had changed. No longer could any empire rely on intimidation alone. No longer could they assume numbers ensured victory. Humanity had proven that cunning, preparation, and unwavering resolve could surpass even the most powerful fleets. And yet, for humans themselves, there was humility. Every fleet lost, every pilot fallen reminded them of their mortality. Every battle taught them to respect the void, to respect life, and to respect the cost of victory. They did not crave fear. They craved survival, strategy, and mastery of the craft they had built from scratch. In the quiet corners of the universe, the Phantom Fleet vanished once more. No sensors could detect them. No scout could find them. Only the faint traces of their victories remained. Entire star systems whispered of shadows in the void, of ships that appeared where none should, and of humans who seemed unstoppable. And the galaxy learned its final lesson. Humanity had become a force beyond comprehension, not through arrogance, not through luck, but through relentless courage, sacrifice, and brilliance. The Phantom Fleet was not a fleet. It was an idea, a lesson for every race that would ever dare to challenge humanity. And somewhere in the silence between stars, the humans waited, patient, disciplined, and ready. For the galaxy would continue to test them, and when it did, the Phantom Fleet would strike again, because humanity did not just survive. Humanity endured. Humanity conquered, not with magic, but with the unstoppable will of a species that refused to bow. The shadows of their fleet stretched across the key, void, unseen, unstoppable, and eternal, and the universe could only watch.